Welcome back to the channel, folks. Barry Mountford here. In this video we are going to take a look at this image. This is an image I've recently just finished in the studio, and actually this image I've built from scratch. I've built the whole scene. I'm going to walk you guys through how I've built it, how I've lit it, and how I finished it in Photoshop. I've been really looking forward to sharing this project with you guys, and this is a project that I'm looking forward to kind of continuing as well throughout the year. Now, I was inspired by an image that I saw online. I saw that image and it grabbed us. Now, this is a project that I'm going to continue doing and continue sharing with you. Images that grab my attention whilst I'm browsing online, or any image or any kind of bit of art that grabs my attention. I'm going to try and recreate that image in a miniature scale in the studio, and I'm going to show you guys the whole process, the breakdown of it all, how I've built it, how I've lit it, and how I've finished it all in Photoshop. I thought it'd be really cool to share with you because it's something that I find really interesting, and I think you guys will get a lot out of it because there's a lot of information to share in that. One being obviously building dioramas, all that kind of fun stuff, lighting obviously for the photography side of it, and Photoshop. So I'm able to kind of put in all the bits that I like to create images. So let's get into how I built the image. Now, this came about, like I say, from that image that I saw online that grabbed my attention. And what really grabbed my attention was the emotion that the light was giving, the backlit, the light rays coming through the warehouse windows. Now, I've recently just purchased a 3D printer, which has allowed me to start printing my own scenes, small parts. Anything I can think of, I can now print. Not only can I design them myself in Fusion 360, but there's lots of websites out there who give you a lot of free stuff to download and use for your own personal use, and that's what I've done now. So within a few hours, I can kind of have a scene printed and built and put together. The only time-consuming part is painting, but that process is it's a nice process, it's a relaxing process, and one which I've really enjoyed. So it started off with the windows. I first printed out these windows, and then I thought it would be a good idea to add a little gangwalk under the windows. So I've printed them off on the LEGU printer. I'll do a full review of that printer as well at some point down the line, because it's a handy little tool, not just for this kind of thing, but for photo accessories. But we'll get into that in another video. I've also printed off some small oil barrels as well to try and give a little bit of depth in the image. If you see in this image here, I've actually used, let's do that on one side. I've actually used the oil barrel in the front of the image and smaller ones at the back, just to try and give a little bit of depth in the image. And now, obviously, building the scene it does take a while, but obviously, again, the process is really fun. And it's not about building a full diorama set. I just needed to build enough to get the angle and the width of the angle that I wanted with the lens I chose, which was the 24-70. I'll actually pop up the lens information on the screen so you can see what the image was shot at. So once I finished building the scene, I've then obviously added it to some foam core card. Now, on the foam core card, to get the concrete textures at the back, I've just used a white and grey paint with a rag, a paper towel, and just dotted that all over the place. It's a process called rag rolling, and it gives you this lovely effect on the back, quite like a concrete effect. And then I've just went round carefully and just bent the foam core and put some little creases in, so maybe you kind of see those textures in the concrete, and it's worked out really well. I repeated that whole process for the surface as well. Added some yellow tram lines, which sometimes you see inside of warehouses, and it makes for a really good scene. Now, the hurricane that I'm using, this is the last of many. This is from a company called Hobby Master, and they do quite detailed, kind of small military figures, planes and vehicles. They are quite expensive. They are classed as a collector's item, but I used this specific one because it's really highly detailed. I have in the past used cheaper die-cast versions, but they're just not as good. They don't really cut it, and I'm really happy with how this has turned out in the image as well, because it looks fantastic, especially printed now. When it's framed, it looks even better. So this is the last of the many. The last hurricane built, and it now flies with the Battle of Britain Memorial Flight. So a really interesting plane, and one that kind of just helped us win back in the day when we needed protecting. So I have a kind of an affinity with this plane as well, and the Spitfire and the Hurricane, something I really love, runs in the family as well. So that's the building of the scene, the set. Like I say, that does take a bit of time, but the process is quite good, and it adds quite a lot of authenticity to the image. It kind of, the background looks real, it looks like it's supposed to be there, and it doesn't look like it's been hand built. So I was very happy with the way that's turned out. Now, the lighting part of it is probably the simplest process ever. I've backlit the plane, and I always find when you backlight something, it just gives a nice emotion to the image. It gives a nice kind of drama to the image as well. I love that. Now, my kind of goal is to create light, shadow and highlight, and this image has that all in. We'll have the light. The plane is lit perfectly well. It has a lovely backlit highlight coming on. You can see the shadows on the floor as well, and all those combinations just, for me, produce a really, really pleasing image to look at. It really does. So the light I'm using has a small modeling light on it, and this light is perfect for this genre of photography because of that small modeling light. It allows me to get that really nice shadow, sharp shadows on the ground. The end of it is even bigger. If I just used the flash, then obviously I would kind of lose some of that detail, but because I'm able to use that small LED point light source and a slower shutter speed, it's allowed me to get those lovely shadows on the floor as well. And now the haze, to get those rays in, there's a little tip I'm going to give you. Now, you can obviously just pop some smoke into the scene and take a photograph, but because we're shooting on such a low power setting on the flash, it has a fast flash duration, so that's going to capture all of the wispy bits of smoke. I'll pop an image up to show you the effect of catching it straight away, so it doesn't look that effective. You can see it just doesn't look so good. It doesn't look like haze. It doesn't give an atmosphere. It just kind of looks like you've actually popped some smoke into a scene, which is a big giveaway. So a great tip to use is once you've popped the smoke in the scene, is just to waft it about. Get it wafted so that kind of calms the smoke down and creates a lovely haze. And again, shooting at a slower shutter speed, that kind of just fizzles out any other little wispy bits in the scene as well, and allows us to create this lovely backlit scene with these lovely rays coming through the warehouse window, and that then is backlighting the plane and casting those lovely shadows on the floor as well. The other light I used was from the left hand side, and that was just in a snoot bare, and that was literally just lighting up the side of the plane just to illuminate, lift it a little bit more, lift the shadows, and that was the whole process of the lighting. Really, really super simple. I will pop up the lens information so you can kind of see what I shot it at, what aperture, what shutter speed, ISO and all that good stuff. That'll be popped up on the screen now. The next step was to take it into Photoshop and obviously just touch it up. Now, this is a process that happens with every one of my images. I always run it through Photoshop, so I'm quite meticulous on the images. If I see dust and stuff like that, I want to get rid of it, or any little bits. So where I had built the diorama set, there were some little gaps in between the cardboard and there were some gaps in between the back and the floor. So what I've done is obviously just photoshopped them out, getting rid of them in Photoshop. I've also added a dust and scratches layer to get rid of the dust off the window. Even though I did blow it all down with some air, there was still a lot of dust on it which I had to get rid of, and that was also kind of a giveaway, so it was a must to get rid of that. So I've getting rid of that, and then I've just simply added a color grade. So here's the raw image that you can see on screen now, and here is the processed image in Photoshop. So as you can see, that has produced a really stunning image, and it looks amazing. I did obviously shoot a couple of different angles. You saw the other one, which was kind of more of a side-on angle. That one looks amazing, looks great printed. And then I've also shot more of a portrait style image as well there, just the front end of the plane with the lights coming down. You can see more of the detail in this, and it still holds up really well, so I was really happy with how that actually turned out. So that was the full creation of the Hurricane, the last of the many. Thought it'd be a good idea to share that with you, and I'm really looking forward to kind of continuing this project as well. And I'm going to be putting more effort into these projects as well, because I've held back a little bit in the past. No more, because I do enjoy them and I do like this whole process. And when they're printed and you see the finished product printed, it looks absolutely stunning, and it blows my mind that this has been created from scratch. And I'm hoping that you guys enjoy that process as well. So for all the gearheads out there, this was shot on the Nikon Z6 II on the 24-70 lens. So I will pop up the lens information here now so you can see what it was shot at. The lighting gear that I used a 100 Pro, which was backlighting the scene. Brilliant light for this type of photography, and to illuminate the front of the plane just a little bit, add a little bit of fill to that side of it, I'm actually using the 300 Pro from Pixapro as well in a snoot. Just two lights, super simple setup, and as you can see from here, that is how it was actually all set up. So the smoke in the image was produced by the Micro Fogger 2, this little smoke machine which I have right here. I've had this for a couple of years now. I'll pop a link to a card above. You can go and check the video out where I've done a review on this little handy little tool for this type of photography. For small miniature photography, it's ideal because you don't really need to fill the whole room with smoke to get those light rays. It's just that small area. So yeah, I was looking forward to more of these breakdowns in this continued project that I'm going to be sharing on the channel with you guys. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, please, I would appreciate a good thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed, and flick the notification bell so you can see when more of these videos are posted. And with that being said, I will look forward to seeing you guys in the next one. See you then.